The I'm Fine podcast is produced by LaMore Media, L.L.C, and is run by Project Headspace and Timing. Project Headspace and Timing is a 501c3 that I started in 2017 after a veteran that I was a medic to decided to pull over on the side of the road and end his life. As an organization, Project Headspace and Timing works on veteran advocacy and veteran outreach. What that means is through the advocacy perspective, we try to connect veterans to other resources as early on into the process as possible. What that entails is early contact with veterans, forming a safety net with their family members, friends, and fellow service members, educating them on the resources, and when that veteran is ready to get help, we are there to make sure that they get the help that they need. The outreach aspect is put there to get veterans together to do productive and constructive things, whether it's out in nature, working with other businesses, anything to get them out around other veterans where those good conversations can happen if they want to have them. If you are interested in finding out more information about our organization, please visit projectheadspaceandtiming.org, our Facebook page, Project Headspace and Timing, or our Instagram, which is Project Headspace and Timing. And if you would like to donate to our organization, please visit our website, projectheadspaceandtiming.org, scroll to the bottom, and you will find a link to our Venmo. If you'd like to send us a check, our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 382, Manteno, Illinois, 60950. And if you'd like to sponsor or have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at Eric P. as in Paul, at projectheadspaceandtiming.org. Thank you. Welcome to episode 10, the I'm Fine podcast, where today we're going to take a little bit of a break from talking about some of the topics that we've been addressing before, because we wanted to share some feel-good Christmas stories, and here's why. This has been a rough year for a lot of people, especially for Brad and I. Brad lost his father, and I lost my mother earlier this year. So the holidays definitely have a new meaning once you've lost a family member. So after Brad and I were talking about what we wanted to do to really kick off December, we wanted to do it by sharing some of our favorite Christmas stories, which is what we'll be doing today.
Welcome to the I'm Fine podcast with your freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional hosts, Eric Peterson and Brad Stozic.
Back to our conversation we were having before the start of recording.
Yes.
The Dreamcast game system was super underrated, and it didn't get a fair shake, and I was so pissed off because my parents made a deal with me when I bought the Dreamcast when I was a kid, and it was if I earned the money for half of it, that they would pay the other half, and it was like $200.
Yeah.
Which $100 when you're a kid is like, I'm going to have to work for years.
Yep.
Like, what am I going to have to do? And so I finally did it. We got the Dreamcast. I thought I was the coolest kid on the block. And then PlayStation 64 came out like 2 days later. And it was like, what the fuck is a Dreamcast? I was so bummed out by that. But you were always about the 64?
I was, yeah. That was my, from my grandma, my second grade communion gift. It was the gold edition.
Hell
and
yeah.
And it was, that was, yeah.
Did you ever play Atari?
No, dude, I'm not, what? I'm only 29. No.
What the fuck does that mean? I had an Atari.
I don't know.
Thank you. There's nothing wrong with Atari. Pitfall was a great game. And then there was a racing. My dad still has his Atari, which if I know anything, it has to be worth a decent amount of money now.
Yes.
He has the original box.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's how my dad he liked it, so we just kept everything, and he's very particular about how he takes care of his stuff. He just takes good care of his stuff. But he has his Atari, and it's plugged into a Zenith television right now, if you remember Zenith. And yeah, so we would play as a kid, like there was a racing game on there, and the whole racing game was there were just two dots, and those were your headlights. And like if it was light outside, you could see the big block that was your car. And then it would be gray because it's foggy. And then you just see those two little yellow dots, and it's just like going left to right. And like that was the whole fucking racing game. And it was great.
Hey, it sounds intense.
And I appreciated it. It was very intense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I started dieting like a week before, so that didn't really do. But you know what? I did good. Everything was good. Yours?
Mine was good. I love Thanksgiving because I love eating and I love food. And I feel like, and one thing we talked on the last episode with Emily Lavoie, the eating psychology coach, is like when it comes to Thanksgiving, there are so many foods that you feel like you can only eat on Thanksgiving, which isn't true.
Correct.
Like my mind was blown earlier this year when I realized that I could just go buy stuffing and just make it when the fuck ever I want. Like I could do it just because it's like 99 cents. I could buy it and make it because it's Tuesday and I'm an adult. So, when it comes to Thanksgiving, I just think the sentimental value too for me, because I really enjoy getting together with my family and just all of us being under one roof. So that was good. It was really hard because this was the first one without my mom.
Yeah.
Like that made it suck because like the whole time you're kind of like looking around and everybody feels it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, we're not trying to talk about it, not because we're trying to ignore it, but we just don't want to spend our Thanksgiving crying. You know what I mean? So like there was one moment where we were wrapping everything up and I walked outside, and I walked outside and we were like packing up to go home. And I was packing up my car. My dad walked out to pack up his car and I like watched him go to his car and just start packing everything up. And knowing that my mom wasn't with him, like I wanted to just cry right there. Like it just hit me. You know what I mean? Where I was like, ugh, like this fucking sucks. But again, just like spending the time with my family, spending the time with my kids, spending the time with my dad, and just really appreciating that time with a new understanding of what the fuck it means to appreciate that time was the only comfort that I was going to get. You know what I mean? Like, what about you?
I'm noticing, I know it's like the first and I have my moments. I'm almost kind of just shutting it out, because I will wait for him to walk to the door.
Like shutting it out in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I'll wait. Oh, the door, like the dog will bark or something. Like, oh, is it my dad? No, it's not. It's not my dad. Like, so
I'll get him. My dad's using my mom's phone. And like, man. Yeah, dude.
Oh, man.
So like, which is fine because my parents, they just shared that cell phone. But like, he'll message me every once in a while from her Facebook account. And I'm always happy to talk to my dad. But man, when you see your parents' name come across the board, come across the phone, and it's not that, it's just like,
yeah, that hurts.
And like I walk down to the basement, like it's hard for me. It's been hard for me to get in the holiday spirit this year.
Yeah.
And I fucking love Christmas. I love Christmas. I know a lot of people out there don't like Christmas. I fucking love Christmas. But like, it's just been really hard for me, I guess, just emotionally to get there.
Yeah.
It helps me because I have kids. And I'm like, I want to make this Christmas awesome for them. So like, I'm still fucking in it. But like, so I walked down into my basement the other day and I was getting some of the Christmas ornaments and the Christmas decorations. And I found a gingerbread house that somebody bought for my kids like a year ago. And it said to Virgie and Lily to put together.
Yeah.
And I found that, and dude, I just sat down on the stairs and I just cried. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
This sucks. You know what I mean? But it's like, so again, I'm still pretty early on into my grief. Like, it was only about a month and a half ago that my mom passed. But like, you get hit with those moments and I just try to like stop everything else that I'm doing and just let myself fucking feel it. And it sucks. But I don't want to try to like suppress it. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to cry because of a fucking gingerbread house. That's what I'm doing today. I just sit down on the stairs and I just get it all out. I'm like, okay, do I feel better now? As good as I'm gonna, and then carry on about my day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But, so all the more important for this time of year, especially for us and anybody out there that has just really had a rough go of it this year. I don't know about you, but we've talked about it. I know so many friends that have lost a family member, that have gone through something fucking horrific. So there are so many amazing stories around the holidays, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And, we hear about them one-off here and there. News stations and stuff will pick up a story, or one will get thrown out there on like social media. And obviously it usually gets a huge response because people are like, holy shit, man, I just want to believe that there's good people. I just want to believe that good things can happen. And so I think to get us in the holiday spirit, I think the right decision was to fucking share some feel-good stories, man.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you found quite a few.
I did, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You got them all? You got them all with you? You got them all ready?
I got a couple.
Okay.
I
What
don't
do you
know.
got?
So the first one kind of hits close to home because it deals with disabilities, which is pretty cool. So in Wisconsin, they're just like every other mall. Santa goes in the mall and the kids Santa's lap and tell them what they want for Christmas. Well, this looks a lot different for hearing impaired children, and because they feel left out, they feel like they can't, don't get to participate. Well, one of the local Santas took it upon himself to learn sign language, not only to ask the children what they would like for Christmas, but also to receive and understand what they are saying, so that everyone gets in the holiday spirit and is included in getting participate in seeing Santa.
I love that. And I love that because I also feel like, as you get older, there's some like people make like jokes about some mall Santas, right? We see it in like movies like Bad Santa, and I'm sure that stuff exists. But holy shit, like if you've never talked to somebody that is a mall Santa or that is a Santa around, around the holidays, do yourself a favor and try to do it, because the emotional weight that Santa has got to fucking deal with is intense.
Yep.
Because I have a friend of mine who is an incredible Santa, and he has been an incredible Santa for a very long time. And there's going to be a story that comes out about him soon in some local media, so I don't want to give too much away about him. But what I will say is, like, him and I sat down one day and we had like a hour-long conversation just bullshitting, and he told me about some of the things that kids had said to him over the years, some of the things where he would have to take a break and go into the bathroom and like take a, because of how heavy something was that a kid told him. And like to see that someone cares enough to make sure that a kid feels included to learn sign language specifically just for that.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Absolutely.
I love that shit.
Absolutely.
Nice. What else you got?
Oh man, this one is another good one. It was titled The Layaway Angel.
Mm-hmm.
So in 3 Walmarts across Pennsylvania, I believe it was Harrisburg, Lebanon County, and I don't remember the third one. Mm-hmm. But they didn't say if it was a man or a woman. A gentleman walked in, or a person walked in and paid off the entire layaway order at those 3 Walmarts. So the first Walmart in Harrisburg, $76,000.
Yeah.
The second Walmart, $46,000. And the third Walmart, another $46,000, for a combined total of $166,000 in layaway debt to those 3 Walmarts to help local families so they can give their kids a great Christmas without having to worry about money.
So I'm assuming that the person was never revealed?
No, they never revealed.
Just stayed anonymous?
Yep.
That's so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing about stuff like that, and it makes me want to go to Walmart and just buy like 4 Xboxes and some TVs and just put them on layaway, and then just like see, like after Christmas, like, did anybody pay for that? Nope. All right, I don't need any of it. Just like return it. Maybe kind of shitty, but
Yep.
You never know.
Yeah.
Fucking good people exist.
It's true.
And I know that I've heard of several stories about people doing that, something similar, where they go into a store, they pay off somebody's bill, they pay off, the layaway stuff. Around here, the late Nick Huffman, while I didn't know him, what I did know about him was that they would pay for all of the school lunches for all of the kids that had outstanding bills for their school lunches, and that was somebody that was local here. You know what I mean? Which is really cool.
Yep.
I love that. Okay, what else?
To piggyback off that is more of a local kind of, not local, but in Chicago, I don't remember the woman's name, but she works at the children's hospital as in the cafeteria. And throughout the entire year, she will put away a little bit of her paycheck each month. And at the end of the year, she takes Thanksgiving and Black Friday off, and she spends $5,000, and she gets anything from baby carriages to soccer balls and keyboards and any toy that you can think of. And she goes around the hospital and she donates the toys to the kids at Christmas.
I love here.
Like, come on.
There's always, I feel like, a story almost every year, and they never get any less amazing.
Yeah.
Or like inspiring when you hear it, but like at children's hospitals, volunteering at children's hospitals, the things that they do for the kids out there. Years ago, we reached out to try to do something for a children's hospital, and they told us that they had so many volunteers already that they couldn't do any more, which is a fucking amazing problem to have.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I love that.
Yeah.
What other stories you got?
Those are the three big ones that I really focused on.
Yeah.
But a lot of the ones that I was going through, it was just a lot of, it's a lot of the same people just having big hearts, man, and what I really like about the holiday season, and it sucks that it's just the holiday season, but it's like people realize that other people are human beings too.
Yes.
And they for some reason, the snow and Santa and Christmas just, I mean, once you get past the crazy shopping and all that stuff,
right?
It's like people actually care about people again. And it's so refreshing to just be around.
It makes you proud just of humanity in general when you read that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like that's the September 12th mind frame for me. You know what I mean? Like the day after September 11th, 2001, where we were all fucking neighbors all of a sudden.
Yep.
Like everybody was neighbors. Like we were like, nope, we're all together on this. Like we're going to dust each other off, make sure we're good, and we're going to fucking get through this. Like you get that vibe on Christmas when you read these types of stories. And there's a lot of people out there that don't like the holiday season, that don't like Christmas. And I understand, because usually it's like attached to something shitty that happened to them around the holiday season. They lost somebody, or just maybe rough upbringing, or whatever the case may be, and they don't like the holidays, and I get that. But there's so many beautiful things that happen around the holidays. And say what you want, but you can't tell me there isn't a little bit of magic or fucking something. Because so I have a couple of stories myself. I have three. The last one's a little bit longer, but it's my absolute favorite Christmas story. But I'll start with so the first one I found was a feel-good story about Helen Cardenas. So Helen Cardenas lived in Washington. She was a 5-year-old girl, and I've never met a 5-year-old named Helen ever. I don't think.
No, I don't.
So I'm going to guess she's an old soul. And she had, unfortunately, her parents were going through some really hard times because such is life. And they were really tight around Christmas time. And they practiced this ritual where they would write a letter to Santa, and they would attach it to a balloon filled with helium, and they would let the balloon go because the balloon was supposed to make it to the North Pole. So that's what little Helen did. She knew that her parents were going to have a pretty tight Christmas because her mom told her that, money's really tough this year. And so Helen wrote a letter asking Santa for a doll and some shoes, and then sent the letter to the North Pole via the balloon. Now, the balloon ended up going a little bit off course, made it about 700 miles away south to California to a ranch that was owned by Julie Sanders and her husband. Now, Julie and her son found the scrap of paper on the ground of their ranch, and although the letter was written in Spanish, they could still make out some of the words. They discovered that it was a wish list. So Julie had an interview with ABC News, and she said the fact that she asked for a doll, some pants, and boots, and nothing materialistic, I just knew it was a family in need. So Julie wanted to make sure that something was happening under that tree for Helen on Christmas morning. So Julie went shopping. She wrapped up a few toys, outfits, and addressed a very special package from Santa to Helen. And although the Sanders know what it's like to struggle themselves, they made a Christmas miracle happen for one sweet little girl. So can you just fucking imagine? Like, you put your letter on a balloon and you just let it go, and you get a gift from Santa as a kid. Like, that would blow my fucking mind. And as the parent too, oh dude, I'd have been in tears.
Oh yeah.
You just see that shit show up from Santa. What the fuck? Like, I would have lost it too. That's
yeah. So
I love that one. Now, this next one sounds like it's a little darker. Starts off a little darker. Has an incredible ending. This story takes place in Colorado with the Herman Storfer family. Now, Tracy and Mike Hermansdorfer were going to the hospital on Christmas Eve because Tracy had entered labor. It was Christmas Eve 2009. So they get to the hospital, but then very quickly, some things started going wrong. Within minutes, Tracy had become unresponsive, and then she soon stopped breathing altogether. Unable to revive her, doctors rushed to save the baby, only for the baby to arrive stillborn. So it looked like the world's worst Christmas gift to Mike, the husband. And Mike began preparing himself for the possibility that he had lost fucking everything, which, to think about losing your wife and your child at the same fucking time, are you out like...
That's my fear every time a man and the kids go somewhere in the car and I stay home without me. That is like my biggest fear.
Especially because in a situation like that, you have zero control.
Yep.
You have zero power. There's nothing you can fucking do about it. Like, it's a worst fucking nightmare. And that's what it was for Mike. But then the impossible happened. This stillborn baby was revived. Against all odds, doctors managed to save one of the patients. And in most circumstances, this would have been a miracle. But to be a Christmas miracle, it's got to be even a little bit more than that, right? So no sooner had the baby been resuscitated than Tracy, who just suddenly began breathing again, despite having gone 4 whole minutes without a fucking heartbeat, brain activity, or blood pressure. The two made a full recovery and told death to just fuck all the way off, which is another insane Christmas miracle, which that's
unreal.
I mean? Well,
that's crazy.
You hear about, there was another story, and I didn't write it down, I don't believe here. Let me just look. No, I don't think I did. But, no, I did. So I'm going to share an extra story. That I also found that kind of goes along the same thing. So there was a 7-year-old boy in Austria. His name was Marco Dutschak from Murau, Central Austria. He was paralyzed from the chest down after a procedure to remove a cyst had actually crushed his spinal cord. So he had a cyst on his spinal cord, and his spinal cord was crushed completely. Chief neurosurgeon Hans Eder said the condition had left him with a spinal cord as thin as a piece of cotton thread. There was virtually nothing left. Now, what had happened with him is that one day, right before Christmas, young Marco was in his hospital room, and he was paralyzed, right? So he was bedridden. And he got out of his hospital bed and just started walking around. And now, Chief Neurosurgeon Eder says, in medical terms, we don't talk about miracles, but the boy's recovery was not medically expected and really is a sensation. Like, he had no fucking spinal cord. His spinal cord was crushed.
Yeah.
He was completely paralyzed. And then one day before Christmas, he just stands the fuck up and just starts walking around. And then his mom got to the hospital and she was like, fucking what?
Dude, there's gotta be something. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, that is, like we talked about last night. Are we just like a Sims game to some giant like super intelligent species that we don't even that we can't even comprehend. Like that's incredible.
All I'm saying is that, and I think I've explained this a few times, so I apologize for that. But if you were to take a giant circle, and that giant circle is all of the things that it is possible to know, all of the things that is possible to know, and you would make the smallest little pie out of that little piece of pie, and that little piece of pie is all the things that you do know, and then you make a little bit bigger piece, and that's all the things that you know that you don't know. The rest, the 99.9% of that pie is shit you don't know.
Yeah.
So like how much is out there that we just fucking have no idea about? And you read stuff like this and doctors are like, we don't like to talk about miracles, but that was a fucking miracle. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that shit happens.
That's crazy.
And nobody can explain it. Nobody can even try. And like you say, it's just like, it's a beautiful thing that just makes you thankful knowing that miracles are possible. So now those were a lot of quick little stories to kind of, boost some spirits. And I really hope that our listeners enjoy listening to kind of, some of those stories and hopefully look into some of their own or maybe share some of their own with us. But there's one story in particular that has always been my favorite Christmas story. I read it often to myself. It's the first time I ever read it, it really brought me to tears. And that is the story of the Christmas truce. So on Christmas Eve in 1914, in the dank, muddy trenches on the Western Front of the First World War, a remarkable thing happened. It came to be called the Christmas truce, and it remains one of the most storied and strangest moments of the Great War or any war in history. And now this all I pulled from history.com. So if you don't know, like World War I think they estimate somewhere between like 15 million and 40 million people were fucking killed. Like it was a terrible war, tragic war. We saw, the world saw things like they'd never seen before. And you had guys literally in the trenches shooting and fucking killing each other, right? So British machine gunner Bruce Bairnsfather, later a prominent cartoonist, wrote about the Christmas truce in his memoirs. Like most of his fellow infantrymen of the 1st Battalion of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment, he was spending the holiday eve shivering in the muck, trying to keep warm. He'd spent a good part of the past few months fighting the Germans, and now in a part of Belgium called Bois de Ploegsteert, he was crouched in a trench that stretched just 3 feet deep by 3 feet wide. His days and nights marked by an endless cycle of sleeplessness and fear, stale biscuits and cigarettes that were too wet to light. Here I was in this horrible clay cavity, Bairnsfather wrote, miles and miles from home, cold, wet through, and covered with mud. There didn't seem the slightest chance of leaving except in an ambulance. And then, at about 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve, Bairnsfather noticed a noise. I listened, he recalled. Away across the field, among the dark shadows beyond, I could hear the murmur of voices. He turned to a fellow soldier in the trench and said, "Do you hear the Germans kicking up that racket over there?" "Yes," came the reply. "They've been at it for some time." The Germans were singing Christmas carols because it was Christmas Eve. And in the darkness, some of the British soldiers began to sing back. Suddenly, Bairnsfather recalled, we heard a confused shouting from the other side. We all stopped to listen. The shout came again. The voice was from an enemy soldier speaking in English with a strong German accent. He was saying, "Come over here." One of the British sergeants answered, "You come halfway, and I'll come halfway." So what happened next would, in the years to come, stun the world and make history, because nothing ever fucking happened like this before. Enemy soldiers began to climb nervously out of their trenches to meet in the barbed wire-filled no man's land that separated the armies. So
If we can, I want to fucking talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Bro, this is World War I. You are in the trenches. Like, if you ever seen anything about that, I can't imagine. I can't even imagine. So, in No Man's Land, that was the famed, land between the trenches where there's barbed wire. They're getting just destroyed left and right. You go out there, that's why they fucking call it No Man's Land. And you're getting out of your trench because you're like, those dudes are singing Christmas carols. We're singing Christmas carols. Yeah, let's go fucking hang out. Like, it's so crazy
Yeah.
that they were able to even, like, have the courage.
Yes, to even go up there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So normally the British and Germans communicated across No Man's Land with streaking bullets, with only occasionally gentlemanly allowances to collect their dead. But now there were handshakes and words of kindness. The soldiers traded songs, tobacco, and wine, and joined in a spontaneous holiday party in the cold, dark night. Baron's father could not believe his eyes. Here they were, the actual practical soldiers of the German army, and there was not an atom of hate on either side. That was a quote from Baron's father. And it wasn't confined to that one battlefield, which is also fucking crazy to me. So starting on Christmas Eve, small pockets of French, German, Belgian, and British troops held impromptu ceasefires across the Western Front, with reports of some on the Eastern Front as well. Some accounts suggest a few of these unofficial truces remained in effect for days. For those who participated, it was surely a welcome break from the hell they had been enduring. When the war had begun just 6 months earlier, most soldiers figured it would be over quickly and they'd be home with their families in time for the holidays, which is incredible. 6 months earlier is when war started. And they're like, nah, this will be over. Holy shit. If only we had a time machine, we'd be like, hey, bro, we were in Afghanistan for like 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
So not only would the war drag on for 4 more years, but it would prove to be the bloodiest conflict ever up to that time. The Industrial Revolution had made it possible to mass produce new and devastating tools for killing, among them fleets of airplanes and guns that could fire hundreds of rounds per minute, and bad news on both sides had left soldiers with plummeting morale. There was the devastating Russian defeat at Tannenberg in August 1914, and the German losses in the Battle of the Marne a week later. By the time winter approached in 1914, as the chill set in, the Western Front stretched hundreds of miles. Countless soldiers were living in misery in the trenches on the fronts, while tens of thousands had already died. And then Christmas came. So some firsthand accounts of this Christmas truce. Descriptions of the Christmas truce appear in numerous diaries and letters. One British soldier, a rifleman named J. Reading, wrote a letter home to his wife describing his holiday experience in 1914. And he said, "My company happened to be in the firing line on Christmas Eve, and it was my turn to go into a ruined house and remain there until 6:30 a.m. on Christmas morning. During the early part of the morning, the Germans started singing and shouting, all in good English. They shouted out, 'Are you the rifle brigade? Have you a spare bottle? If so, we will come halfway and you come the other half.' Later on in the day, they came towards us," Reading described, "and our chaps went out to meet them. I shook hands with some of them. They gave us cigarettes and cigars. We did not fire that day, and everything was so quiet that it seemed like a dream." Another British soldier named John Ferguson recalled it this way: "Here we were laughing and chatting to men whom only a few hours before we were trying to kill." Like, what a fucking profound thought that is. Like, to understand that, like, that your job is to kill that guy. And then on Christmas, you're like, you know what? We can fucking hang out. Yeah, we can hang out and bullshit, play cards, play soccer, do whatever right now. And then knowing that you're going to walk right back to your trench, take up your rifle, and then go back to what your fucking job is.
Yep.
That is such an interesting look at how our brains work, dude.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is.
And so, excuse me, other diaries and letters describe German soldiers using candles to light Christmas trees around their trenches. One German infantryman described how a British soldier set up a makeshift barber shop, charging Germans a few cigarettes each for a haircut. Like, fucking what, dude?
That's
like,
crazy.
They're just helping each other out, taking care of each other. Like, yo, all that shit that we were doing yesterday, that's in the past, man. Like, we're fucking brothers today. We're all out here in the shit together. Like, hey, man, your hair's fucked up. Let me get you, I'll cut it for you. It's just, it was everything about this story. Just it brings tears to my eyes. So other accounts describe vivid scenes of men helping enemy soldiers collect their dead, of which there were plenty. So you're also doing that at the same fucking time. One British soldier named Ernie Williams later described in an interview his recollection of some of the makeshift soccer play on what turned out to be a very icy pitch. So he said, the ball appeared from somewhere, I don't know where. They made up some goals and one fellow went in the goal, and then it was just a general kickabout. I should think there were about a couple hundred taking part. German Lieutenant Kurt Zimmich of the 134th Saxons Infantry, a school teacher who spoke both English and German, also described a pickup soccer game in his diary, which was discovered in an attic near Leipzig in 1999, written in an archaic German form of shorthand. And it said, eventually, the English brought a soccer ball from their trenches, and pretty soon a lively game ensued, he wrote. How marvelously wonderful, yet how strange it was. And the English officers felt the same way about it. Thus, Christmas, the celebration of love, managed to bring mortal enemies together as friends for a time. Gradually, news of the Christmas truce made it to the press. Christmas has come and gone, certainly the most extraordinary celebration of it any of us will ever experience, one soldier wrote in a letter that appeared in the Irish Times on January 15, 1915. He described large crowds of officers and men, English and German, grouped around the dead bodies, which had been gathered together and laid out in rows. The Germans, this British soldier said, were quite affable. Just how many soldiers participated in this informal holiday gathering has been debated. There's no way to know for sure since the ceasefires were small-scale, haphazard, and entirely unauthorized. A Time magazine story on the 100th anniversary claimed that as many as 100,000 soldiers took part in this. And again, it was all over. Like, it wasn't just in one spot on one battlefield. Like, just pretty much sporadically, you had these little groups of people that were just like, maybe we shouldn't fucking kill each other for a day. You know what I mean? And it just, there's something so tragic about the whole thing too. And that's what really gets me. It's that, you know enough to say, I'm going to serve my country. I'm going to serve a bigger, better cause. I'm going to be a part of something bigger than me. And you are doing one of the things that I think is arguably the most difficult thing a human being could ever do, could ever be put through, which is to be in that type of war environment, knowing that you're trying to kill these people that are trying to kill you and your friends and brothers and probably already have killed many, and you're still able to put that aside. Like, you want to talk about fucking magic on Christmas? What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
Is that not magic?
It seems pretty magical to
Again,
me, man.
Unauthorized, haphazardly thrown together, bunch of soldiers just stop fucking killing each other for a day. Like, that's fucking magic, right? Now, not everybody was pleased with the truce. This is from history.com. I didn't know this. This is an interesting little tidbit. In one account, a German soldier scolded his fellow soldiers during the Christmas truce. And he said, such a thing should not happen in wartime. Have you no German sense of honor left? Can you guess who that soldier was?
I'm going to go on a limb here and say Adolf Hitler.
What a dick. Just always a dick.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys that was like, we shouldn't be doing, well, fuck you, man, okay?
He was that guy.
And high command on both sides were not pleased with the festivities. Pope Benedict implored leaders of the battling nations to hold a Christmas truce, saying that, the guns may fall silent at least upon the night that the angels sang. And that plea was officially ignored. So when a truce spontaneously broke out, the leaders of all the armies were reportedly horrified. British General Sir Horace Smith-Dorrien wrote in a confidential memorandum that this is only illustrative of the apathetic state we are gradually sinking into. Some accounts of the Christmas truce hold that soldiers were punished for fraternization, and the top command issued orders that it should never happen again. Fuck off.
Talking about a morale squisher.
Like, you get the Guinness Book of World Records world record for the go fuck yourself. Like the biggest go fuck yourself that's ever been issued ever.
Yeah.
Because of course, and that also, it just really gives you some insight into how war works. Okay? And I'm not a strategist. I was never a general or anything. I'm never in charge of more than a squad. But like, to understand the situation for what it is and be able to automatically say, that's fucking disgusting. How dare these guys? Like if you're one of the if you're one of the British generals, German general, British, I guess I'll say the British side, man, you're agreeing with Hitler, bro. Like, that's usually never a good thing. That's usually not a good thing. Like,
oh, yeah.
The fact that you can come down on these guys for just trying to fucking forget where they are and what they're doing for a day and just try to do something that makes them feel like they're at home while understanding something very important, which is your enemy may not always be your enemy. Right. And you're going to take that and just be like, no, you guys shouldn't do that. What the fuck? Like, that just made me very frustrated. Made me very frustrated. But so for the rest of World War I, a conflict that would ultimately claim somewhere between 50 to 40 million lives, no Christmas truces appeared to have occurred again. But in 1914, these curious holiday get-togethers reminded everybody involved that wars were not fought by forces, but by human beings. And then for years after, the truce became fodder for everything from artwork to made-for-TV movies to advertisements and popular songs. Today, a memorial stands in England's National Memorial Arboretum. I hope I'm saying that right. Commemorating the Christmas truce. It was dedicated by Prince William of England on the 100th anniversary, which was in 2014. The English and German national soccer teams stage a friendly match in England in remembrance of the soldiers' impromptu soccer games in 1914, which I think is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's fucking cool. And now what stands out the most today, however, are the memories of the soldiers themselves, preserved in their own penmanship. One rifleman of Britain's 3rd Rifle Brigade recounted a German soldier saying, "Today we have peace. Tomorrow you fight for your country. I fight for mine. Good luck." Like, ugh.
Dude, that's... And just based off that story, it's like shit literally does roll downhill.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because the higher-ups didn't like any of this but the troops were just being, like you said, they're just being human, man.
Just being human beings. And and there are so many specials and things out there you can read and watch and listen to on the Christmas truce. Like, this is obviously the abridged version. It's a fucking beautiful story.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact that it took place on multiple battlefields, the fact that how tense of a situation was it initially and to be able to, you're literally trusting the enemy with getting out of your trench and making yourself vulnerable. Like that never happens. That's not something that ever fucking happens.
No.
And the fact that both sides were just singing Christmas carols initially, and then they heard the other side, and then just to imagine how those conversations are going. I'm in my trench, you're in your trench, I'm British and you're German, and I hear you singing. I'm like, hey, you singing Christmas carols over there, bro? And you're like, yeah. You got something to smoke? And I'm like, yes, I do. You got something to drink? Yep. And then we just stop fucking fighting. Yep. I love that story. I love that story so very much.
That is a good one.
Now, this entire episode was essentially one big end on a high note, but I still found a local end on a high note that I wanted to put in here.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to take some time because we're sharing all these super good stories, right? And all these feel good stories. And I wanted to just celebrate one local veteran who also happens to be a police officer and I'm very honored to call him a friend. His name is Officer Casey of the Manteno Police Department. Now, if you're local and you're unaware, you need to get your life together. But what you can do is if you get on fucking Facebook and you just type in Facebook Officer Casey in just in the search bar, if you're local, it's going to pull up so many miscellaneous people in our community talking about an interaction that they had with Officer Casey and thanking him for how incredible he was and some nice gesture they did. Like it's insane. Like if you if you depending on how active you are with your respective communities, like there's small Facebook groups specifically for your community, right? And we have in Manteno, there's a couple of groups for us. And I always saw stories like all the time about Officer Casey doing something nice. And I was just kind of like, okay. And I don't know. I guess I just assumed it was the same fucking story until I actually looked into it. And when I looked into it, I can't tell you how many I counted. Like, cause I kept losing count. But there were so many stories of Officer Casey paying for gas, groceries, fast food, ice cream, a flagpole, donuts, coffee, like so many stories of Officer Casey being in line. There's somebody else in line, and he just takes it upon himself to pay for the other person. And in almost every single account, whenever the person, tried to deny it, tell him no thank you or whatever, what can I do to repay you? Officer Casey would just tell him to pay it forward and be a nice person. Like, fuck, man. That dude lives in our town.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. It makes me super proud to come from where I come from.
And not only is he doing that, he's a freaking police officer.
Yep.
Like,
yep. His job's hard enough as it is.
Exactly.
Common sense is common experience, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to police, the world or our country is divided. Some people feel this way about cops. Some people feel that way. But for me, my experience has always been based on, or my feelings towards the police have always been based on my experience. So I guess I'm just super fucking lucky that I live where I live because the cops around here have been pretty awesome. And Officer Casey does shit like this all the fucking time. So I wanted to read just a couple of brief stories, a couple of brief testimonials that I found about all the things that he has done. Here's one of them. Officer Casey blessed 5 children I was with last summer. As I waited in line to purchase ice cream cones for all of these children, Mr. Casey approached us. He asked all the boys, who's getting ice cream? They all started shouting, we are, we are. And Officer Casey purchased every one of them an ice cream cone. And approximately 6 months later, I sent my sister into Casey's gas station to purchase a phone card and a pack of cigarettes and some gas. She came out of the gas station, handed me my money back, and said, Officer Casey paid for that. He's a wonderful man and a blessing to our entire community. Like, what the fuck, man? And, here's another good one. My husband just ran up to the Dollar General to get me some over-the-counter allergy medication. He returned home with a story that warms my heart. There was a woman at the front of the line checking out with 2 carts of groceries and other odds and ends. She was buying for her father and other elderly neighbors. Manteno Police Department Officer Casey walked into the store to purchase a cold drink, spoke with the woman a minute, and then handed her some cash for her purchases. She, in turn, gave the 5 people in line behind her some cash for their purchases. Thank you, Officer Casey, for your kindness. And 2 more. There's just so fucking many. There's so fucking many stories. I couldn't help doing it. I just want to give a huge thanks and appreciation to Officer Casey. I was at the gas station this morning buying my normal things, and he paid for my order. He gave me a fist bump and said, be nice to people. I just want to say thank you to Officer Casey for coming out to my house and changing my tire. Called roadside assistance and was waiting for them to do it. And Officer Casey showed up. I asked him what I did wrong, laughing, and he just said he was sent there because of the tire. So I called roadside assistance, and of course the woman said that they actually canceled the call for some reason, which kind of frustrated this person here. And she said, I still had a flat tire, needed to be changed. Needless to say, Officer Casey saved me, having to wait for them to figure it out in incredibly terrible heat and changed my tire. And then last one that I found that I wanted to share. In Manteno Dollar General, there was a couple with a young girl who was looking at a little $1 toy, not begging, just looking. A police officer was walking down the aisle behind her and said, that looks like it would be fun. She said, yeah, my mom said maybe on payday. The officer was in front of me at the register, and he had the toy in his hand and whatever else he was buying. He told the cashier, "This is for the little girl with the brown hair that's with her mom and dad in here right now. And this is for her mom and dad," and handed her a 20. Somebody saw that happen and called out Officer Casey on Facebook because they're like, "No, that was Officer. I was there. I saw it. It was Officer Casey." And you're just like, dude, we got a fucking superhero just hanging out, just taking care of people. And he's a cop, thank God. And he's just walking around doing his job. And I've talked to him a few times, and I'm very honored and thankful to have talked to him. And we've gotten coffee before, and he's just a genuine guy.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever talked to him before?
I think I'm in passing. Probably I never really sat down and had a conversation with him. No, but I mean in passing, I've said hi and things like that.
When you meet people like that, it hits you different. You meet somebody, you're like, oh, this person's nice just because they fucking want to be nice. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to end on that high note because, again, this whole year has been really hard for you and I especially. And we're going into the holiday season right now. Well, we're already in the fucking holiday season, but we're seeing how hard it is. And a friend of mine, give a shout out to a friend of mine, local state representative Jackie Haas. She also unfortunately lost her father this year, and when my mother passed, she reached out to me and talked to me to make sure that I was doing all right. And she said that, the firsts are going to be the hardest. And she was right. And that's what I was thinking at Thanksgiving when I was standing in the street looking at my dad load up his car. I was like, fuck, man, this is hard. And so when you're going through these kind of things and you're feeling shitty and you're going to the holiday season and you're going into it sad because not everybody that was with you last holiday season is here for this one, it's just really important to know that there's a lot of good out there. There are a lot of good people. There are miracles that are literally fucking happening. Like from kids just spontaneously walking to people paying for gifts on layaway, like
to a ceasefire.
To a complete fucking ceasefire during World War I. Like there are beautiful stories of beautiful people doing good things every day. And they're probably people you've never even met. And so hopefully the understanding of that will help you get into the holiday mood. So unless you have anything else, my friend, you got anything else?
What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one and a good question. I'm going to tell you several of my favorite Christmas movies, okay?
That's fair. Why am I not surprised?
Christmas Vacation.
Oh, I forgot about
You
that.
got to fucking watch Christmas. Every year you have to, a few times, watch Christmas Vacation. I could quote Cousin Eddie all fucking day. Great fucking movie. Obviously, A Christmas Story. I don't have cable anymore, but back when I was a kid, dude, Christmas meant one thing. You're turning that TV on to TNT because it's 24 hours of A Christmas Story.
Yes.
And I'm going to watch at least 12 hours of it.
Absolutely.
Fucking all day, every day.
You know the funny part? I don't know about you, but when I would watch it, I would never catch the beginning or the end. I would just watch like the middle and then like just piece it all together.
Just the same part of the Bumpus Hounds fucking up the Christmas dinner.
Yes.
And you're like, I've just watched this one scene 10 times today.
Yep. Either
fine with
either that or he licks the pole.
Or when Flick licks the pole.
Yep.
So there's a sequel. There was a sequel that came out years ago. I don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah,
but there was one that just came out. I think it's on HBO Max. And I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I heard though.
I thought it was pretty good. It's as good as it would be. As it could be. You know what I mean? Because nostalgia's crazy. I love A Christmas Story. So, I mean, but Christmas Story's up there. Elf is up there. Elf's a fucking classic. I love Will Ferrell. I can watch it with my kids. That movie cracks me up. And then, why are you rolling your eyes? You don't like Elf?
Dude, that is like my... No, I don't like Elf.
What happened? You got like a real fucking feeling about this movie. Let's open up. Let's talk about it, man.
It's every time... we would have like some kind of Christmas party or Christmas something at school. There was options of movies and everyone always voted for Elf. And it's like, guys, we've seen this movie every year since like 4th grade. Come on, let's switch it up. And then now, I don't know if you know this or not, but they no longer do, or they might still do the 24 Hours of Christmas Story. A different channel now does 24 Hours of Elf. And it's just like, dude, okay.
Just to fuck with you.
It probably.
Just to fuck with you. It was a student that you went to school with, and he's like, there's this kid that fucking hated Elf, so you know what? Fuck him. I'm just gonna play it for 24 hours.
Yep.
So, I mean, no, I get it. I mean, anything that you start seeing way too much, if you're not all about it, like it can get a little, boring and exhausting. Elf was never a huge staple for me, but like I liked it. I did like the movie, and I liked it because I could watch my kids. My kids like watching, so that's up there for me. Another one that my oldest daughter Lily does like, I'm super thankful she does, is Scrooged with Bill Murray. Classic, and Bill Murray humor from like the 80s and stuff still holds up great today.
Absolutely.
Ghostbusters, Scrooged, Caddyshack, like any of those, like he's still fucking hilarious. Scrooge was a great one. And also the end speech in Scrooge is one of my, as far as like movie speeches are concerned, it is up there with Bill Pullman's speech in Independence Day as some of the one of the greatest speeches I've ever heard in a movie, because it was emotional and it was just it was so he made it seem so genuine. So Scrooge was always up there for me. There's not a lot of new Christmas movies that like I really, really love. I'll watch some of the rom-com stuff, like Four Christmases. I love Vince Vaughn.
Yep.
So like I'll watch, that kind of stuff. That's a good movie. But I could really watch almost. Oh, and the other one, which isn't technically a Christmas movie, is Rise of the Guardians, which is super underrated.
Yeah.
Great movie for kids. And my favorite part about it is Santa is a jacked Russian dude who's got tattoos on. He's got sleeve tattoos, and one says naughty, one says nice, and he carries swords. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. So Rise of the Guardians is also up there. So I mean, I could not pick one. It would be between A Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation, and Scrooged.
Okay.
Those are my top three for fucking sure. But why? What about you?
I think my ultimate go-to is the Jim Carrey remake of How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
I love that movie.
He did great as the
absolutely.
Grinch. Like, he was hilarious.
Yes.
And my kids like that one too. And that's a fun one. Yeah, he for sure did right by that. Yep. The animated one was, I don't know, the new animated one.
Yes.
The old animated one I love.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
This is a solid holiday classic, right? But yeah, that's a good one too.
But yeah.
Well, okay. But yeah. Those are my favorite. Your answer was super quick. Yours, like it's just this one movie. My answer, I was like, dude, I got so many.
I mean, I don't.
movies.
So okay, this is the first year I've been like really, really in the Christmas like spirit.
Fuck yeah.
So I don't know. I'm easing my way into it.
Good.
Not that I'm like a Scrooge every other time. I just typically don't.
Yeah.
Do this year. I will sing all the crazy, silly Christmas songs with my kids. I'm decorating the tree, dancing, being goofy. So it's a good year this year.
And can I say, I feel like one thing as a dad, I feel like, and this could be wrong, and I'm not trying to downplay the role of the mom whatsoever, but it's just like, sometimes I just feel like, all right, I got to carry the morale here. I got to create it. I got to be about it. You know what I mean? Because if I'm about it, then that will permeate through hopefully the rest of the family, make sure that they're about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's harder to get my kids into Christmas movies because they have fucking YouTube now and stuff. So like my kids will want to do that. But every once in a while, if I can sneak them away from that and get them to just snuggle with me on the couch and watch a Christmas movie, dude, it's no fucking better feeling, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, other than that, any other questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams?
That is all I have, sir.
Brad, this was episode 10.
Episode 10.
We did it. Jake said before that as long as we made it to episode 10, that we're doing pretty good. So we can do one more episode and then just be fucking done. Maybe?
No.
Okay.
No.
We'll keep going.
Next goal, 20.
Go to 20? I think we could go to 20. I definitely think we could go to 20. So if you're out there and you are also having a hard time going through Christmas, if you have a story that you really like, if you have something that really kind of brought some joy into your life, feel free to share it with us. Go to the I'm Fine podcast Facebook page. Our friend who I know you are familiar with very well by now, Melanie, she's always up there posting stuff, and we want to hear from you too. So if there's another story that you really like, please share it with us, and we really hope that this helps you get into the holiday spirit. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon, and thank you again for listening.